I can get it done my way. There's no question about it. I can get it done.
All right.
And the thing you got to remember is, what happened to Park and those guys, you can't start going to people that you don't know, that don't level with you, that bullshit you, that don't look into it. For instance, I may tell you in a week after I look into it, it can't be done. It cannot be done. And I'll tell you, I won't bullshit you. When I make a deal, it's a goddamn deal. That's all there is to it. And, you know, after it's done, you may tell me, well, you've already done it. There's no reason for me to deal with you. Howard tells me you're not that kind of people, that you, you know, that you deal, you know,
I've never backed out of a deal.
Well,
that's why when I said to you
yeah.
a little while ago, I said to you, and when I knew you were coming over, and I assumed that I was going to give you the money, and I told you, if the deal had any variance from what I originally said, I expect that you would have the option of either saying, hey, that's not what the deal that you told me about, and that you had the option of saying, hey, forget about it, or it's going to cost more. Because that's what I tell these people. I said, look, you give me the story, and you tell me. And if it's different, let me know now, because I have to tell these people and give them the option. So I feel I'm obligated to you to tell you,
that's right.
Hey,
and I
this is the way it is. If it changes, then you have the option to say, hey, forget it, or it's more money.
I'll deal through Howard in this thing, and I'll be very straightforward about it. And, you know, the problem is I have a hard time, you know, when I start pressing these things, you know, not pressing harder than I should sometimes. But, you know, what I've got to know is exactly what you guys have in mind. Exactly. In other words, when, how many. When you say one, does that mean one in a family?
Just one.
One.
Just a check.
Just a check. That's what we were talking about.
All right.
Okay.
Well, that's, and you know, you gotta put his name. You know, you gotta give me his name so that I can.
Yeah.
Check
Well, that would
see
have
if there's
been
any political problems.
That would have been the thing. We would have come up with, you know, the whole thing, everything, you know, that you'd need.
You're not ready for that yet, are you? At this time?
No, we weren't ready for that.
When does this guy want to come?
Well, actually, he doesn't know himself.
He doesn't know himself.
How old is he?
This 43.
Well, you know, I don't know enough about this.
The situation changes day to day.
Yeah, listen, I
see what these guys are doing is they're trying to hedge their bet. You know, they want to be put in a position that if all of a sudden tomorrow something goes wrong, they say, hey, they call up and say, Tony.
Let's be honest about it. This poor son of a bitch could be killed tomorrow, and you know, and I could be in and forget about it and so forth. But when I make a fucking deal, I want to make sure that I know exactly what I'm doing, and I can either do something for you or not do something for you. And what I'm saying is, a few investments in my district, a few, you know, it's big to me. To this guy, apparently it's not too big. To a couple banks there, which would get their attention. And an investment in a business where you can legitimately say to me, when I say legitimately, I'm talking about so these bastards up here can't say to me, well, why in 8 years from now, that's possible.
Yeah.
We'd never hear a thing for 8 years. But all at once, some dumb bastard would go start talking 8 years from now about this whole thing and say, Jesus Christ, this happened. Then he, in order to get immunity so he doesn't go to jail, he starts talking and fingering people, and the son of a bitch all falls apart, you know.
Right. Well, that's why I like the idea of helping by investing within your district, which gives you, in other words, if you were to stand up on a floor, I guess, and introduce a bill, all right, saying to keep this guy in his country, at least you've got, what I'm saying is at least then you've got it back, because if somebody says to you, well, why do you want this guy here? You say, well, it's obvious. I want him here because he's put money into my district.
And not only that, you go one step farther. The people in the district would be very supportive of that, because, you know, once this, we would go farther. We would make it known that this guy's putting money in the district and providing jobs, you see. We'll play this son of a bitch the whole way, you know, once we see that, if that's the way to play it. Now, I'm going to tell you, honestly, in a week, and I don't know if it'll even take me a week, how difficult this is. You know, I may be able to tell you today. I just happened to talk to this other fellow today, and he may be able to tell me today whether this is possible at all or whether it's impossible. Now, introducing legislation is only legitimate if the guy's in your district, because otherwise you got a real problem. And,
well, that would be no problem to move him into your district.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, he could buy something there. You're talking about a residence of some sort, right?
I'm talking about, I'm
having
talking
a business
about
commitment.
Well, a business commitment.
A business commitment that makes it imperative for me to help him. Just let me tell you something. I'm sure if there's a lot of things I've done up here with environmental regulations, with all kinds of waivers of laws and regulations, that if it weren't in a district, people would say, well, that son of a bitch, I'm going to tell you something, this guy is, on the take. Well, once they say that, what happens? Then they start going around looking for the goddamn money. So I want to avoid that by having some tie to the district, that's all. That's the secret to the whole
You give us your banks what you want the money deposit.
All right. How much money are we talking about?
Well, that's you tell me. What do you?
Well, let me find out what is a reasonable figure that will get their attention, because there's a couple banks that have really done me some favors in the past that I'd like to put some money in, and one guy in particular, that savings bank, solid, all three of them, of course, solid banks. And maybe I only want to go to one. I don't know. I have to think about this a little bit, and I'll get back to you with what I think would make an impression. I'm not going to go out of hand, but I want to let these guys know that that I did it, and they'll be appreciative of it, and it'll be helpful to me.
I understand one hand washes the other, and you're trying to help them out. You just let me know. We're going to be here all week, and you think about it. Let me know about these
Let me go back now to the other thing. Let me go to the investment of the district. Now, what are you talking about there as far as money goes? What kind of money do you have available to you to invest in the district?
Well, I hate to just talk numbers, because the numbers, I can talk astronomical numbers, and you don't know me.
Yeah.
So I give you a number, you might say, well, this guy's bullshitting me.
That's why
I'm trying
Tony, that's why I want to do business before, I want to do business. I want to see what the hell we're talking about. Are we talking about, he's checked you out, he says you're absolutely right, and he's giving me some figures that, we deal in billions of dollars, and so, when you're talking about millions, it really, but what I'm interested in is employment and investment that gives him a legitimate in, and maybe I'm selling this whole thing short. Maybe it's going to be much more complicated than I think. I think there's no problem at all with this. I think with a tie to the district, that there's no problem at all getting this thing taken care of.
Let me ask you one other thing, Congressman, and I don't mean to insult you.
Yeah.
What guarantee have we got then that you'll get them in?
Only no word, that's all. And I hope that I made myself clear that when I say I want to do something, I'm going to do it. That's all there is to it.
Now, on these mines and whatnot, you're talking about an outright
I say
purchase.
mine.
Well, the industry as a whole. Okay, I'm saying mines because you haven't given me a specifics. I'm just using mines. But you're referring to financing the operations, some of these operations, or purchasing?
Let me give you an idea of the problem. We've had 5 go Chapter 13. One guy that I know fairly well went Chapter 13. I would assume he would want somebody to invest in it, and it's a strip mine operation. Should have been lucrative. I don't know what happened to it. Demand, I assume, is down.